Okay, go ahead and start recording. Um, so on these, one of the things, and of course, this is since it's a Gauntlet game, it's the standard Gauntlet inclusion policy. XCAR, where we're going to do essentially a bit of lines and veils and a palette, kind of like microscope, that goes along with creating the show originally. So there is some discussion there as far as lines and veils goes along with it, but also XCard like normal, either just that to show in the window, or if you hit X into like the chat, those work as well. Um, so we start off kind of deciding what's like with a script committee, essentially. What genre of play do we want this to be? So you're playing actors who are in a show, and that show is the themes of it are interfering with their regular lives. Like what I do is I kind of take the themes that are taking place and transform them, reverse them, change your target, do something like that to have it so that a similar thing is happening. Like some of it, have any of you seen the TV show? I can't remember if it was any of you have.
I watched the clips that got sent, but I couldn't get any of the full episodes to work for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's a crime those are not more readily available by streaming right now because I've got the DVD set. But the DVDs are super expensive now. Um, like for example, there's in the Romeo and Juliet, the season where Romeo and Juliet is the secondary play being done. You have got this director who thinks he knows. He's got these really bizarre views on everything, and he's trying to make it as dull and gray as possible. Like they're literally dressed up as chess pieces. They're not allowed to have any emotion. And these two head actors like really love the play, so they actually go to the director, the artistic director of the tenant, kind of like Friar Lawrence, to be the person who helps them out. In Macbeth, I mean, you've literally got the main character being haunted by the ghost of his old director. And there are a number of things of betrayal and such that kind of come into it in Macbeth. So it's always switching it so you're not just having the same conflict outside of the show as you are inside. It's switching that up so that the themes are there, but it should have some differences as far as what's actually going on. One of the things we discovered so far, there is a slight problem. If you choose a modern day, um, like a everyday, it doesn't always have to be Shakespeare, at least for our stuff. In there, it's Shakespeare for the main play, but the minor plays, the secondary plays going on are not always. One of them is a Rent pastiche. It's hilarious. Um, but one thing we found out is we did like a gothic romance that worked fine. We did one that was like a modern kind of a light comedy that was like a sort of a zero to hero kind of thing. One of the problems we found out was because it was taking place in the modern day with characters that were kind of like the main characters, that it became difficult to keep separate characters from the play and characters from the real life. And there was more than once we had scenes with characters that were in the wrong reality. So it's something to keep in mind. If it's not impossible, but it's just something that can become a problem if we're not careful. If they happen to be too much the same. David, you have appeared twice.
I dropped out for some reason. I'm having some bandwidth issues this evening. Applied from a hotel. I'm working away from home, so I'm hoping it's now stabilized.
Let me see if I can. Oh, yep, there it went. All right, so the first part then is deciding, as far as the sort of genre of play, and I've got a list of there's others too, but I have a list of like some genres there on what page is this on? Page 6 of the Slings and Arrows sort of RPG sheet. Things like family drama or comedy, relationship drama or comedy, tragedy, absurdist, comedy of errors, the upstairs, downstairs, like a Downton Abbey type thing, farce, melodrama, gothic, parody, radio dramas, adventures, horrors, thrillers, psychological thrillers, the theater favorite of the deep, dark family secret coming out in a big gothic house. So, for y'all, what kind of sounds interesting as sort of a genre to play with?
Well, I'm interested. What is a person in a hole play?
Oh, so those ones I would actually go up a little bit. The person in the whole are sort of less the genre and more the. Oh yeah, I guess there's those down there. Um, Less a genre and more of a trajectory
Okay.
on them, because those are sort of like you could have like the person in the whole means someone who starts off. Um, Things get worse and worse and worse, and they've got to try to get their way out. So, like the act die, for example, starts off relatively easy, like a D4 at first because we get to introduce them, and then as things get worse and worse and worse, up to Act 4 where it's a D10, and then the Act 5 you go back to a D6 because that's when things usually um, get themselves fixed. So those are the kind of the tone of those, slightly separate from the genre, but they deal with the kind of play. So it kind of tells us where things are most difficult for the characters.
Okay. Oh, I see the genres now. All right, sorry about that.
Yeah, on the page 6 has more general genres. Then we sort of choose. I said I might those do kind of fall a little bit too close into some of the genre stuff, especially with the tragedy and comedy right there, as well as romance.
I'm happy with comedy of errors. Post dots in the chat window. That's fine with me.
Okay. So comedy of errors. Cool. So let me make some notes here. Oh, well, we put that. So, with the comedy of errors, is this something that we want to have be take place in something? Do we want to put it like in a modern time set? Do we want to put it in a different time area? Like, when would we like this to take place? Is that something Shakespearean as a possibility? You can go more modern. You could go something like 19th century. Shakespearean-ish. By the way, if you've never, David, I think we went a little robot on us.
All right, so maybe Shakespeare. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I could hear you a moment ago when you said, "Can you hear me?"
Okay, let's try again. So, yeah, Pearl's suggestion of Shakespearean, something Shakespearean or Oscar Wilde would work for me.
Okay. Dan, do you have a preference?
Either works for me as well.
Okay. I will say one of the things with if we want to do Shakespearean, people get like nervous about trying to like improv or like kind of speak in a Shakespearean way. The way to cheat is just throw in a lot of similes and metaphors. No one ever counts beats when it comes to that. We used to do a lot of like Shakespearean improv. So those things, it can be a lot of fun. It's actually not kind of as difficult as people tend to make it out to be. So, in that case, what we'll want to do is decide what this play is about. Yeah. There's a couple different ways to sort of set this. It can be just a quick conversation of If you're doing something Shakespeare, Comedy of Errors, one of the most popular is you have two sets of twins that were separated in like usually a wreck of some sort, and they've come in and don't realize the other ones are there. A lot of times, mistaken identities. But we kind of look at it. This is about we kind of like some log lines or high concepts can work, like protagonist type, what their goal is, and then whoever the antagonist is, and kind of giving the setup. We figure like who is the person that this is about. Or one thing we can do is for Comedy of Errors, what are we can kind of start looking at why usually with Comedy of Errors has a lot to do with mistaken identities. What might be the reason we would have mistaken identities among these three plus other NPC characters? Could be the long lost twins. It could be you don't actually know what someone looks like, but there's reasons for someone trying to fool someone.
I like twins. Maybe like separated at birth, sort of thing, and they show up in the same town, but don't encounter each other. But other people keep encountering one or the other of them. Does that make sense? If not, I'll stop talking.
That makes sense. I'm into
That's
that.
cool.
That's
Yeah,
a cool
that's
idea.
fine.
And offhand, I think that's at least 2 or 3 Shakespeare plays. So, lost sets of twins. Why do these sets of twins? Why are they unaware that the other person is in town and may not add 2 and 2 together quite so easily?
Well, I reckon if they were separated at birth, then, or at a young age, of course, I don't think I assume that I have a twin who's living in my town who was separated from me at a young age. So it seems pretty standard to not think that you would have that.
Yeah.
I can
So-
imagine one of them was taken to another town to grow up for whatever reason, like sent off with an aunt, or maybe they were both sent off with family members for whatever reason, and happened to move back. Maybe like the town they're from is a bigger city, and both of them wanted to make their way in the world and went to the nearest big city or larger town.
So I've got to suggest that maybe there's a prince who likes to go among his people dressed as a pauper, and there's a pauper who dreams of being a prince.
Okay. And since there's 3 of us, do we want these to be twins or triplets? Or do we? Because it could be where one person is maybe one person's playing someone who is manipulating the situation. It could be where you're all. And this actually kind of comes into. This can work really well if you have player character antagonists, where like a player character like when you're coming into conflict. The important thing on there is always communication and making sure a player character antagonism never becomes a player antagonism. Because it can be realizing this is the fun part. Sort of like in a play, playing the villain is a whole lot of fun. Yeah, so deciding whether is one of you maybe causing the problem, or one of you all a part of the circle of ignorance, where you're not aware of what's going on.
I could see playing someone who isn't necessarily a villain, but is unknowingly dealing with a set of twins and getting like more and more irritated that they are inconsistent and don't remember the interactions we've had. Or with a prince and a pauper, as it were, or like I like David's idea as well, and I don't know if we're combining the two with twins in the the prince and the pauper. I think they're both excellent ideas. So
I think the twins, yes. Maybe someone who, yeah, I quite like the idea of someone who interacts with the twins. So, a fiance or a wife or a mother or a father, something like that, which would be who doesn't realize there's two of them.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, if someone's got that, yeah. I mean, this actually is this is borrowing a lot from the actual Shakespeare play Comedy of Errors, which has got some hilarious stuff in it. So yeah, see if you've got one person who's sort of unknown about it, we want to go with one's a prince, one's a pauper. So which of course means at some point what is the big thing that's going on that kind of makes it so that this mistaken identity becomes a problem? Like what's the crisis that means the fact that someone is mistaken for a prince?
what if like when they were born, there was some prophecy that like if the twins were raised together, they would have some epic conflict and like no one would accede to the throne. So they sent one of the twins to become like a normal townsperson, again, like in the next town over, whatever. But he moves back. And meanwhile, the prince has started like going around as a pauper because he wants to get to know the population and has met someone in the town that he befriends or becomes romantically entangled with. And then the twin shows up, and the two of them are now in the town not knowing about each other because the prophecy's been kept under wraps or whatever it is. You know how they are with ancient, the seer foretold or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So now they're both in the town dressed as, well, the prince is dressed as a pauper, and then the pauper could either also be dressed as a pauper or could like dress up fancily. But either way, nobody actually knows that they're both there and everybody's confused.
I think probably they're both dressed as paupers, and the pauper is taken back to the palace in a misunderstanding. Perhaps it's the day of the prince's marriage.
I am all for those things. Dan, your thoughts? Okay. So yeah, there's a misunderstanding. I've got some ideas already. Pauper accidentally taken back. Prince's marriage, all that. Awesome. So it looks like we've got the core. What it would be? It looks like we have got. So it looks like it'll be the GM, the NPC antagonists in here. So it sounds like the three of you are probably trying to like search for understanding, which is cool. All right. So we've got our basic. I think we've got our basic stuff set up. The rest of that usually comes pretty quick. And now we move on to the production meeting aspect. What this is essentially is, have you ever played Microscope?
Yeah.
Okay. It's essentially the palettes from the Microscope. You're able to say, and it's not only that, but it's also putting in some ideas for the play itself. It gives you two things: things you'd like to see, things you wouldn't like to see in it. But then you can also do. Anyone kind of say like we don't have a budget for that, like the budgetary stuff. Where it could also be like if someone's like, oh, what if there was a thing with these like weeping statues, and someone else is like, okay, that's cool, but I don't want it to be like a weeping Jesus or weeping Mary. Like let's keep it out of a religious aspect. If that's sort of a line for them, it gives a chance to a little bit negotiate and talk about if there's things that you'd like to see and like if there might be some lines, and also lines and veils like normal can also be put down. I know my normal ones. Yeah, I've got a kind of a thing towards the bottom. Problem scenes. I'll actually put a little lines and veil thing above it. I always sort of go sexual violence. I don't use. Usually I keep like violence against children. Don't use. And often like if torture, if it happens, I've usually kept it like veiled. And to be honest, I've almost never used it. And when it has, it's usually just been like this person had escaped something or whatever. Let me. Sorry, let me. Come format. Merge cells. Okay, I'll put them down here. Yep. So, lines, sexual violence against kids, torture. Anything else that we want to put as far as lines or veils? I've got those towards the bottom. If you look right across from the Act 4 and 5.
If we can add violence against like pet animals, dogs and cats, things like that, sure would appreciate that.
Okay. Okay, keep away death. Muted it. Yep, got that in there. Also put away keep deaths of parents.
It shouldn't come out, but nothing irritates me more than Surprise Cthulhu.
Here's the reason you. Oh my god, we have to have the right bloodline because now you're being sacrificed. What?
I've played too many games where someone says, I know what'll make this game better, Cthulhu. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Cthulhu's a lot.
Yeah. I will say that I certainly would not bring that up, but yeah, I do agree. Comedy of Errors having Cthulhu show up. I'm not sure what you mean by cue grieving outside of the play, within a play.
Like if someone loses someone in the play and wants to make a big melodramatic grieving scene, I don't think that would bother me. If that were mirrored in like the player or the, I don't know what to call the
Sort of the real life basically keeping the real life sequence.
the real life version of the players things, those things. If there were a mirror of that, yeah.
Okay.
Like genuine grief.
Okay.
And that can be maybe veiled, or I could take headphones out if someone really wants to play that out. I just personally, due to my circumstances, would prefer not to.
Not a problem.
Have that.
Just when you choose your relationships that you have to stake, you just keep those sort of things out of it. Okay, anything else we want to put on, or do those look pretty good? Okay. So, and we're fairly close to having all the stuff we need for the play. Now we can just kind of go on like the palette as far as like likes or dislikes. Gives us an opportunity. It's partly so that people know what we're going for in the play, so we have ideas. And it can also be a moment to say like, we're looking at like tone, keeping the tone relatively light. And I'm also assuming from the stuff we've said, it also sounds like tone in the real life should also probably be relatively light, so we're not stepping out of a comedy of errors into like a Tennessee Williams, everything's completely screwed up way. So what it looks like we're probably going to be going for is a lighter tone in general. Yeah, so we can kind of like with the palette, we can each go around and say, what's one thing you think it would be cool to see in the comedy of errors? What's one thing you think would be cool that you would like not like to see, if you've got some of those ideas, and then other people can kind of go, okay, like you can add to it as far as like the budgetary stuff goes. Like, yeah, that'd be cool, but these are the things we maybe this might be a cool way to see it, or this is something to be careful of. Oh, we can definitely make the character in the play villainous. That's fairly easy. Hey, anybody have something they would like to see happen in the, or like to see not happen in the comedy of errors? And towards the bottom, there is a likes and dislikes for the palette. We start with Dan, you have anything you'd like to see or not see in the? Oh, well, there we go.
I'd like to see some wizard magic. I'd like a curse or some kind of magical spell.
Sweet. Let me know if you're the one, if you're typing it in, or
I typed in the first one. I'm almost ready to be on camera, I think. Although no one else is, so that... Oh, actually, I lied. There's David.
I think we're all there, I think. Yeah, some sort of... someone's in love with someone. Maybe the twins are in love with each other. Maybe they're not twins. Maybe they just look like each other. Someone's in love with someone.
If I'm playing the character who doesn't realize they're twins and is interacting with both of them, perhaps I've fallen in love with the first one I met, and then the second one comes along, and I think I'm in love with them. And then, of course, that would be up to them whether they pretended to be the first one or not. But I usually think with like twin mistaken identity things of relationships where one person is involved, I guess, with one and then confused by the other. But twins in love with each other, if we want to go super weird, I'm not opposed.
or we mentioned in that case, it wouldn't necessarily be twins; it'd be more just two people who happen to look like you found your doppelganger.
Mm-hmm. Just someone in love with someone. I don't mind playing to find out. It's a question: do we need to specify it up front, or do we find out in play?
We can do either. I mean, especially I think in the case of what we have here, the nature of the actual the show of a comedy of errors, particularly with the twins and everything else, kind of helps drive people, possibly without needing quite so much. Where if you've got like we're doing a family drama, some along those lines, that gives an opportunity. Well, we got to figure out what that family drama is a little bit beforehand. We've set up the situation enough. I think we've kind of actually taken some of those. I think the nature of this one is different than say the gothic romance, where we need to kind of figure out where we all stand on the same page. So yeah, is there anything anybody wants to put on the likes or dislikes, or we think we're pretty much good to go to creating our characters?
No, it's fine.
Oh, what this you mentioned. Okay, yeah, purposeful gaslighting. Yeah, so basically, the person does generally confuse. You don't have like an evil person behind the scenes causing the confusion.
I don't know if I actually mean that, given... I don't know. I generally don't like gaslighting, but in this setting, maybe it makes sense.
I
in
think
a way that could be funny.
Are you thinking maybe the difference between like having like an evil counselor who's trying to get rid of the prince to put someone in his thing is different than like someone emotionally like abusing someone?
Yeah, like misleading someone because of a scheme in some amusing way seems fine.
Okay.
As opposed to like making someone feel crazy.
Oh
like
yeah.
Their reality is not real. Like
Okay.
actual gaslighting.
Yeah, okay. So I will make a note. I'm going to add just something to that. Evil plan, for some reason, is okay. Mentally, emotionally, messing with someone is not. So yeah, so if this is someone has decided to make this go, that's cool, but not like, let's make a weird drama. To be fair, Lady M kind of got herself involved. Nope, we're gonna kill him. I don't want to kill him. You're gonna kill him, and you're gonna like it. Cool. I'm good with what I see. If y'all are, is there everyone okay? All right. If we're all good at that point, up at the top, it's fairly easy for, I mean, character wise, you just come up with the name. You can each choose, like, there's the green, the yellow, or the green, the beige-ish, and the blue across the top, what their name is, what their day job is, pronoun, what their relationship status is. And then you just come up with three people where it says name relationships underneath. Like, here are three people who are important to you. Just like, this is Mindy. She's my boss at my job. This is good friends along those lines, and those will be the people that you can stake later on to explore those relationships when it comes to the real life scenes. I will say this is one where I may have to grab my iPad here in a minute. I personally make heavy use of name generators, um, especially ones that can give me like names from a variety of places, because I hate names. Yeah, these ones you can kind of all do them yourself. On these ones, these are just sort of coming up with the people around you. You are actors who hold down a day job. I live in a college town, so I know lots of poor adjunct professors.
So is it just the names and things we're doing, Michael, or
Oh, as far as the relationship stuff goes,
I've got the name, occupation, pronoun, relation, state status, role. Where am I going from there?
underneath it where it says name relationship, it's just these are 3 people you've got that in your character's life that you want to have the scenes with in the real life. Like these are 3 sort of vectors for real life drama.
Sure.
We do have 2 Kathys, so we might want to change a name.
I'll change mine. That's fine.
I will say the almost cheery but never helpful and often actively unhelpful describes someone I work with in a way that could be cathartic. Oh, so yeah, as far as with your roll, Pearl. So we talked a couple things earlier. Were you looking to be like the fiance of the prince, or do you want to be like someone who's actually trying to replace the prince with someone else? Could also be tied in with whatever prophecy or evil spell have been placed on.
I think I just couldn't remember what we had settled on for the exact scenario, other than that they're the twins and there's confusion and one is a prince and one is. But I couldn't remember like who interacts with them and why, and whether they're not actually twins and are in love with each other, or one of them's in love with somebody else, or.
Yeah, if we want to make them, I mean, it's been brought up that possibly instead of twins, it's a doppelganger. But I guess do we want to go with the twin idea, or just they happen to look a lot alike, and that they fall in love, or which should we want to go with there? Looks like David's in favor of doppelgangers. This is we're doing a role-playing game, not a literal doppelganger, but Prince, doppelganger, the lady who really didn't like the prince, but does like the pauper. Pauper's scared of being found out and having his head chopped off. Okay, it sounds like people are going to go in for the not actual twin, but someone that appears to be the. So we're looking at not the actual twin, but the person who appears to be the twin. And we want those two to possibly be in love. I guess Dan and David, where are you at on that?
I am generally unsure of what's going on.
Okay, okay, so I guess what we decided, there's a couple things. Whether it's like twins who've been separated, or someone who just happens to look a lot like the other person. We've got some stuff happening in the chat. in the chat box.
So I thought we'd set up that there were two characters in the play who looked almost identical. One was a prince pretending to be a pauper. The other was a pauper pretending to be a prince. I'm very happy that they are twins or not. I thought we established that the other main role was that someone was going to get married to the prince, but the pauper got taken to the palace, and that's where everything starts going wrong. That's where I thought we were, but if I'm wrong, now would probably be a good time to correct each other.
No, that rings a bell. I just I don't know where ghosts come into it.
Oh, I don't think we talked about ghosts. Yeah, like what David said sounds good. Like we talked about a couple different things got brought up, so I just wasn't sure what one we're going to be going with. Okay, but yeah, so to make it clear, we've got the prince dressed like a pauper. The pauper gets sort of taken in to be the prince, while the prince is left out. Then has to kind of try to make their way back, and then the probably the princess possibly is what Pearl's got for the character. Yeah, princess's fiance gets switched out. Suspicious royal person of some sort. Yeah, either of those could work. Do you have a preference?
Sorry, I keep going to the wrong tab. The princess seems like probably the easiest one to come up with on the fly. Like I was like, maybe I'm an evil vizier who like sees what's happening and wants to use it for personal gain. But then I was like, that takes a lot of probably scheming machinations with NPCs, and I want to make sure everyone is having scenes together. So I think the princess makes more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to play the princess, just you know, but I think those were the three major roles. I don't know how the game supports many players, or the probably the parts that are not being played by the players. I'm not sure about that.
Pretty much standard NPCs. I kind of code them as like you've got usually a small ensemble of actors who like some of them may actually switch characters at times, but beyond that works just like a regular role playing game.
Cool.
Okay. And it looks like we're probably using the comedy thing here. D8, D4, D6, D8, D6. Put that down. All right, so I've got the act dice down. Okay, so beyond that, just taking a quick look, it looks like we have characters and such ready to go. Do we want to take a few minutes for a bio break, and then we can come back, and then we'll actually be able to start game proper? Cool. Back in a few. Okay, we're back. I'll make a note. Pearl, let us know when you are. All right. So in this case, we have got. One thing we'll want. Do actually do we want to have names for the pauper, the prince, and the princess, or do we just want to call them by those?
I think names are a good idea.
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah, although with the prince and the pauper, I suppose they should have the same name, or at least be going by the same name.
well, the prince would at least be often just called prince, probably. With people who might grab them, because if we do that, then we run the risk of getting fairly confused. As a Michael who's been around a lot of mics, that's one of those things that becomes a little confusing until you get used to them. Yeah, so we'll want to name those, and I guess what we can do then is name those characters. Oh, that reminds me, I'm going to real quick grab my iPad for my name generator, and then what we'll do is introduce the actors, their characters, and then we'll be able to start. Give me just a second to grab that if you want to come up with a name for your character in the play. That absolutely works as a name. Princess Buttercup. Which, by the way, I don't know if you watch Stranger Things, but Carrie Ellis is on there and is a joy. Like, he is kind of playing a real awful person, and he is clearly having an absolute blast. Yeah, if you want to see Carrie Ellis play just a dirtbag, I very much enjoy when you can tell an actor is having a ball, and he is having fun in that role. Well, he's Midwestern, and said kind of a terrible person, but good lord, is it fun to watch? Okay, let us know when you've got a character name, or for the character in the show, and then we can introduce the actors and the characters, and then get into it. Where have I heard Schmetterling before?
I know it from my favorite joke about languages. It means butterfly in German.
Okay. Oh, it might have been in the one of those how to speak German videos where it shows the difference. It's like ambulance, ambulancia,
Exactly.
ambulance, Krankenwagen.
That was pretty much exactly the joke that I first heard it in. Like in French, papillon. Or no, that's Spanish. No, that has to be French, papillon. Whatever it is, and then German. Und what is wrong with Schmetterling? So I've always enjoyed that particular thing about butterflies.
Okay. Who would like to start? Introduce your actor, who they are in real life, and then a little bit about the character. We can go from maybe right to left on the character keeper. We want to start with Tom Oberst.
Yeah, my character's name is Tom Oberst. He's a assistant brewer at the local brewery. He is in a long-term dating relationship, and in this play, he's playing Prince Connor, the reluctant prince. Anything else you would like me to say?
If there's any other ideas you had about them, we can get those now, or we can kind of figure those out through play. Either way works.
No, he's we'll say he's fairly down on his luck in the real world. Other than that, let's find out what we find out.
I think Schmetterling works fine if you want to go with those. Stefano, Connor, Schmetterling.
Vote from other players, Schmetterling versus Butterfly.
I think Schmetterling is great.
All right.
Yeah, I think I'm first Schmetterling than Butterfly, actually. So.
She goes back then. I have no idea if I'm spelling it right. Apologies. I am not German. And apologies to any German people who might view this. Your language is lovely. So are we not introducing the relationships as well?
You can, but the thing with those can also be what I usually do is when you've marked somebody, we then go into I'll ask some questions about how you see that person, what's going on there, and then we get into those. So if you've got some ideas ahead of time, cool. If you want to wait, you can do that as well.
Okay. I notice we all wrote them, right? Yeah. Okay, so we'll just bring them up as they come up in play?
Yeah, unless if there's someone you want to see as particularly important, if you want to mention that. But just gives an idea of who your actor is and how you see your character so far.
Okay. That is probably my turn, isn't it? Okay. I should put more light on, unless I look significantly brighter on screen than I do or for you guys than I do on my own screen. But I am playing Jane Daly Rollins, and she's an adjunct professor at the local university, which is not one of particularly good standing as it is. And sort of on top of that, she's not treated very well because she's an adjunct, even though she's fully qualified and probably should be a regular professor, but the university system is not one of kindness. So she's, she enjoys her subject, expertise, as it were, but does not really enjoy her experience with the university. She likes her students, but maybe not her job, if that makes sense. Or the other aspects of her job, and has to deal with a variety of people who seem to feel entitled to being condescending towards her, who are not actually any more qualified than she is, but happen to have ended up in positions of power or influence. And so she signed up for the local theater to play Princess Schmetterling, the hapless and confused princess who had an arranged marriage with a prince and had met him and thought he was rather lovely, and now things just seem a bit odd. But she likes playing a princess because in real life she feels a bit haggard, I think.
And then for Rob.
So I'm playing Rob Leifer. He is a marriage guidance counselor by day. He's in his early 50s, probably bald but wears a toupee, probably going through a midlife crisis. As a marriage counsellor, he's married to Rosie, his wife, of 25 years, who he can't stand, but won't get divorced because that'll look bad on your resume. Becky, his daughter, is his other relationship, and Connie is a barista at the local coffee shop that he dreams about running away with. He is playing Stefano, the pauper, who is a happy-go-lucky rogue who believes he was destined for Miranda things.
Which means I think we have in the theater thing, one of my favorite things is when you see two people that are supposed to be twins or something, and one is like 25 years older than the other one pretty clearly. The other one thing we did forget. You have a D4, two D6s, and a D8. If you'll notice, there's you convince, threaten, connect, and reject. These are essentially, these are your stats. These are the things that you are good or bad at. If you want to assign those... so that you have, D8 which you're best in, D4 which you're worst in, and then D6 at the other two.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't process it in a way that is allowing me to do something about it.
Yeah, so your stats are essentially how good you are at either connecting or convincing, threatening, connecting, or rejecting. One of those will have a D8, one will have a D4, and the other two will have a D6. All right. So in this small village, Prince Connor, Princess Schmetterling, so the fiance, the day of your wedding is coming relatively soon, within a few weeks. What's the reason, Prince Connor, that you have gone into the village as dressed as a pauper?
I've gone into the village dressed as a pauper. This is my sort of first time out to try to get a feel for it, see if this is a hobby that I can pursue, and maybe if this is a way that I can, escape the notice of my family and the guards and all of the people who sort of seem to follow me and do what I say and pay attention to me. If I can get away from them for a minute, that would be ideal.
Okay. All right. So you have disguised yourself. You have gone out into the woods or into the villages. And this is probably just to sort of be around regular people. Okay. Um, to be around regular people, there's a market. People are buying, selling. To be able to kind of go through without everyone turning to staring at you normally has been kind of nice until you reach a point when everyone is giving you. Well, actually, they wouldn't give you attention. Sorry. Where things are going relatively well as you're wandering. Let's get this with Stefano real quick. Stefano, how do people in the village see you?
He is a lovable rogue, so in some ways liked, but you wouldn't want him near your things. Always friendly, happy to shout a comrade a drink, but probably leave you with the bill.
Excellent. All I needed. So, Prince Connor, as you're sort of heading around, you hear someone yell fairly loudly, "Stefano!" And when you start, he's looking straight at you. The guy that you're looking at is probably got most of a foot on you and is like built essentially like a brick. Big huge guy. He looks very, very angry, looking straight to you. Stefano, my money.
Stefano, your money, yes. How much money do I, Stefano, owe you, my good friend?
As he comes up and comes closer, you don't know? You've forgotten what you stole from me?
My skill at counting is wanting at best. But if you can give me a number, I can put it in your hand immediately.
Tell you what, I'm gonna take everything you got. Getting me drunk the way you did during that card game.
Well, I don't like to brag, but yes, I'm very good at cards. Strangely bad at counting. Let me see. What have I got? I have got. Let me see. Oh, I've got a coin purse. Here, coin purse. There you are.
How much do you carry around in your coin purse?
What currency have we?
We'll say gold.
Oh, fantastic. Probably a sort of a day's allowance, which we'll say is 2 gold pieces.
Probably more than any of these people have seen.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. This kind of looks at the coin purse and just. How'd you get this?
Oh, my friend, you're not the only one I beat at cards.
Yeah, it's like big meat paw almost kind of goes around the back and just. He goes, "You got this much from cards. You and I are going to work together."
I look forward to it. Now, please, my memory is also very poor. If you can remind me of your name, that would be profoundly helpful.
Okay, looks just. Forget my name. You know who I am.
You know who I am. Yes, I do. Thank you.
I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but you're coming with me.
I look forward to it. To adventure. Good friend.
Okay. You sort of head with?
Yeah, sure do.
Right. He takes you back into towards a house, which takes us to you head towards this house. Then we get Stefano. Where do you live? You're breaking up quite a bit.
That when I have a Can you hear me?
Yeah, that sounds a lot better.
Cool. I'll just finish the video. Normally, near the stars for those happens. Quantity will.
Yeah, you're lagging again. You broke up on that one. Yeah, that came through garbled from me.
Get the chat message.
Yeah, I started to come back good there towards the end.
But I put it into the chat window, if that helps.
Okay. Yeah, right now you're coming through good, but I'm afraid to say that for jinxing
Okay,
it.
so you say normally if he's been lucky, right, I've reconnected. Let's try that.
Okay.
You hear me?
Yep.
Cool. Right, did you hear anything I said?
Not enough to help.
Right, so he would say he normally lives under the stars, but he's been lucky at coin, so stays in an inn called the Prince's Head.
Okay. There's a friend of yours who you sometimes hang out with. Helene Godot is the actress who is playing it. We would call her Margie. Margie like rushes in to the room. I don't know, would you be napping during the day at some point, or?
So is that to me as Stefano?
Yeah, Stefano.
Yes, he is asleep in his bed where he last fell down, full of wine the following night,
Okay.
the previous night.
You're awoken by Margie bursting into the room, going, "Oh god, oh god, oh god!" And just like she starts grabbing stuff and throwing them into a sack.
What did you say her name was? Sorry.
Margie.
Good Margie, you look like the revenue has come.
Oh god, but I saw you. You were Teddy. Like had you by the neck and took you into someplace, took you into his home. How are you? Wait, are you still? Did you just wake up?
I believe, yes, I have awoken from the sleep of the just, or at least the well inebriated.
Stefano, I saw that with my own two eyes. He had you he had taken you. He discovers that that wasn't you. We may need to get out of here and quick.
Are you sure he saw me? Perhaps it was a changeling, some fairy creature or other.
Okay, I've never seen a changeling or fairy creature. All I know is I saw you, and I saw him call to you, and you gave him a coin purse?
Then that is certainly not me. Right?
I think I missed the last part. I heard it's certainly not me, and then something went.
That's certainly not me, for I wouldn't have paid him.
Well, somebody did. Looks like you. So, and she kind of like slumps against the chest of drawers there. What do we do?
He said, "Zounds, then this is good fortune indeed, for he is someone I cannot afford to pay, nor would choose to see. So we will run and find somewhere else to stay."
She goes, "Oh, okay, sounds good. Let's pop back to you in just in a little bit. Princess Schmetterling. How do you see your relationship with the prince?
Well, I think it was an arranged marriage, as they often are, to ally two countries or kingdoms or whatever it is. But I think also she's genuinely fond of him and thinks that as arranged marriages go, this seems like a good one and that she could probably come to love him, and maybe, I don't know if she already loves him, but she's like on the path, you know, they've spent some time together wandering in the courtyard and that sort of thing. So she's enamored of him, I would say.
Okay.
And feels like life is going well as these things go.
All right. Yeah, you like him. Things are going well. Monica, one of the counselors to the throne, knocks on your door.
Come?
She enters. Have you seen here? Have you seen Prince Connor?
No, not this day.
He seems to have slipped his room.
Well, it wouldn't be proper for me to be visiting his chambers unattended, so I don't think I'm really the right person to ask about these things. Have you spoken to his manservant?
And Dan, you said this is the first time you said that you had left? Okay, yeah, first time? Yeah, so the thing where she just sort of like looks at you, eyes just narrow some. We spoke to his servants and the guards in that area, and he just seemed to have disappeared. Now, it may be right for me to do a full search of your chambers to make sure he is not coming here. But if he is not, the prince, as far as we can tell, has left the grounds. Why might he have done this?
You seem remarkably impertinent. Do you fancy keeping your head? You know who I am. I'm the princess.
You will be the princess. But
No, I am the princess. My father is the king. I will be the queen, actually. And for you to come in here and make accusations and intimate that you might search my chambers without my consent is not only impertinent, but dangerous. I would suggest that you go and search for the prince, maybe more within what your station should allow. And I will kindly forget this incident and not mention it if you defer to me properly henceforth.
Okay, so to see how well this goes, but also to see kind of like how much power that she has, if you've got the Cortexatron
With the,
thing up,
where?
I can. It's one of the links I sent for Dice Roller.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I did. Where did it go? I had it.
I put it in chat.
No, and I thought I opened it in a tab, and then
It'll
I
say
apparently...
Dunbisdorf.com is the thing, but Cortexatron should be up at the top.
There we go. Okay. Dunbisdorf.com. Okay. I will reopen it since it seems to have disappeared. All right.
Oh, let me remove those. Someone had added something to it. Let me. So for her, I'm taking the act die right now, and this is a D8
Okay.
because of the beginning of the kind of the comedy. Often starts off a little bit harder, gets easier, and then difficulty builds up again. And as far as the difficulty goes, I want this to be kind of an average difficulty for it. So I put those two down. Oops, I hit roll all dice. Choose best total. Keep results. Don't worry about the effect die part. That's just going to be that's for a different game system. But yeah, so I've got a total of a 7. So what you're going to want to do is take one of your. You might want to mute your mic. I've got you coming back through. I've got my own voice coming back through me.
It shouldn't be through me. I'm using a headset. I mean, I can mute, but I don't know how it would be.
Yeah, I've got the hits weird.
Back.
Wait, let me check. It was. Nope, I'm not hearing it now. Okay, may not have been through you. So what you want to do is, you have just. It looks like threatened, which is a D6 for you, and then choose one of your relationships, and tell it at what die level do you want to stake it. Like D4, D6, or D8.
I will, I guess, D6 Ambrose van Ribenfeld.
Okay.
I don't know what that means in terms of what I should put on the sheet.
Okay, so right as of yet, you don't necessarily have to put something on there, but you will in a moment. So what you're saying is basically the Ambrose is who you want to have the scene with afterwards. So I'll remove all dice. You get to put, that's what, 2d6 for you?
Yeah.
You said, yeah, so you're basically staking a 2, so d6, and then with a threaten.
And then, how do I just roll all dice? Is that it?
Yep.
It's a different dice room than I'm used to. How does this always happen? Do you know, yesterday I had one where I had a skill where I got an extra die so I could take the top 2, and I got 3 ones. Like, what? How is this possible?
Okay.
All right, so I guess, despite being the princess, this random castle person has more power than I do.
Yeah, so like which then will be justified here in a moment. So if you want to do so, you take it at a d6 since you failed. If you want to like highlight the number, like the stake where it's got number 2 on that character, that then becomes the minimum. Like if you just like I usually just use like a fill, just color fill on that one. Yeah, so that means that's now your minimum that if you use that again, D6 is the minimum you can use.
Okay.
If you succeed, it would go up by 1. So if you had succeeded, it would have been at the level 1 instead of 2. But this means when you get brought into it, the relationship is still decently strong when you come out of it. When you actually meet each other, you'll have a good die for it. But there's chances of that kind of degrading. So then we're going to end up seeing what that's going to be. So she just very calmly kind of shuts the door and goes, I don't know. And I was going to say, is the king is your father or the prince's father?
I was thinking that the king and queen were my parents, and that the prince was visiting from the next kingdom,
Okay.
which would make it easier for the pauper to have shown up from elsewhere as well.
Yep. So as she shuts the door and her eyes go kind of narrow and she steps forward. There's a good deal you do not understand about ruling a country. There's also a good deal you don't understand about the amount of power put into my hands by your parents. So before you think you can run around threatening me, realize that you have a long road between Queen and here. We can either be friends, or you can see what happens when the Spy Master turns against you.
The Spy Master, is it? Is that what you're calling yourself? Am I supposed to feel threatened? Spy master.
He's not here, is he?
No, of course he's not. I told you in the first place that it would be improper for us to see each other in each other's chambers alone. I told you that right when you came in, but you don't listen very well, spy master.
She goes and opens the door. He goes, do a search of the room. Something big enough to hold a prince. She turns, she's like, it's not that I don't trust you. It's that I don't know. And my job is to know. And the two guards just come in and aren't even necessarily, like, they're not even looking to you for permission as they go through and start opening, like, closets and stuff like that.
I look forward to all of your beheadings. All of you.
She just goes, you know who's got power here. You'll all be fine. Well,
I'm sure you think you do. Enjoy it while it lasts.
she turns and
Pardon me, I need to
leaves.
get my crown and other such things together for the luncheon I'm supposed to attend, so if I'm not in your way,
won't take.
I do need to begin getting dressed. Having male guards in my room like this, I'll need to report that to my parents as well. I don't feel comfortable. I'm not fully dressed. I'm in my night clothes. This is remarkably inappropriate. So,
Yeah, it won't take us very long, princess. There's not a lot of places that the prince could hide if you were in here.
which he is not.
Okay. And of course, as they do the search, they're going to find out that he is not. Let's head back to Prince Connor. You have found yourself in a. I don't know if you've ever kind of wanted to be in a place where you're like, every single person in here is probably a criminal. There's a decent chance that several people in here have killed people before. As he comes in and he goes, guys, look who I found. And someone turns around and is like, Stefano! And someone pulls out a knife.
Oh.
Someone pulls out a knife and goes, we gonna get what we got? And he just holds up a hand and goes, no. Turns out, and he throws the, I'm sorry about that, David, your bandwidth is being a problem. He goes, no. Seems that Stefano here has come into a good amount of money. And like as it hits and like the two gold pieces come out, and they're just an audible gasp. And it kind of pushes you towards the table and goes, oh yeah, sorry, I did too. I think I went a little bit more modern medieval. But goes, if you got this much money from playing cards, you could probably use some people to back you up, or at least let us know where this has taken place, so we can rob from it. Give me just a second. I think someone might have knocked at my door, which is weird because we have an apartment complex and that shouldn't be easy to do. Give me a second. Oh, don't worry. There's without the knocker. Oh, guess I have no neighbors next door to me now. They're cleaning out the cleaners have come in to do stuff. So that was that. Act 2, all beheadings all the time. Yeah, so these people that you played, how can we, well, who are they, and how do we get more money out of it?
Friends, all right, lean in. Near the royal palace, there's a tent in which a contingency from a neighboring kingdom has made camp. Now, these people, they are flush with money. Each one of these men holds 10 times what you've seen today. And the the prince who goes among them, he has no money. He's very poor. Strangely, they do not give him any cash to carry around. Now, I came upon several of these soldiers and I said, let's start a card game. And they agreed, and we started a card game, and I made quick work of them. And that is how I came upon that gold.
So these guards. You said there's a prince that just wanders around, that like goes around with that much money.
Let's redact that. I don't think that quite.
Oh,
works.
just with the guards.
Yeah, just with the guards.
Yeah. That sounded like a knock. I'm guessing it wasn't. Yeah, it goes. They pay their guards this much. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to take us to the guards, and we're going to get in the game. And we're going to see what we can take.
That sounds wonderful to me. However, because they know that I am an incredible gambler, I will have to disguise my face before the guards see me, or else they'll know they will lose all of their money.
All right. We could probably do some stuff. We could probably get you disguised. So they kind of come in, kind of put the disguise and such, which was going to be a great time to run to Dave to see him get probably captured or seen as you. We'll assume that happened because, frankly, that's the story we've set up. That has to happen. Okay. Yeah, I'll get him to the first conflict, first character here in a moment if you want to go. So yeah, he and one other person goes with you and says, all right, we're gonna go check this out. That person is actually Helene, who plays Margie, and this is her second character. Arnold the Thief. And soon you find yourselves before these two guards, sort of outside of the. Was this outside the castle you said, or was this?
Yeah. I figure my family is visiting. If this is Pearl's kingdom, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume I've got my contingency is outside of the main castle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, with the group there is starting to head up, and some of the guards are sitting around talking. The whole group and such there. This is all the people that you know and you recognize. Look up. And, what do you want?
Hello, friends. We've heard that there is good gambling to be had here, and plenty of. Hey, it's me. Just go along with me. There's good gambling to be had here, as well as loads of mirth and plentiful ale.
Yes. Okay, so part of this, we'll make the roll here partly to see like whether they, because like some of it'll depend on what happens if they recognize you, or if they think you're sort of whatever. So rolling the D8 for the act and the D6 for average difficulty. Well, actually, because we need to redact it a little bit where they've already seen you go by, because David's character would have been brought back in, because we have to have that comedy of errors part. Let's with that 2D8.
Right.
Oh, total of an 8. Oops. This total. Oh, that's right. It doesn't usually keep. Okay, it's an 8 total.
8 total, and I will. I think I'll stake my relationship with my older brother Tim on this.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll stake a D6 level. All right. And I'm trying to convince. Yeah. Okay. Conversion. No. Okay, so we said a D6 and a D6.
Mhm.
All right. And. All right. Hey, wow. All right. That is a 11 all
Yeah.
told.
Okay. So what you want to do is, with Tim, go ahead and highlight the 1.
Okay.
Technically, Pearl, you got an 11 if we had read it like a percentage die. Yeah, so you said to play along.
Yeah.
There's a moment he kind of looks at you. This is a guard that Albert, who also we know is, or not, that wouldn't be Albert. Alma, who plays the counselor, also plays. Also plays Sylvia the guard. Her eyes go kind of a little bit wide, and she goes, "Yes, of course. You're looking for a game?" She says that a little bit louder so the other people can hear.
That we are. Myself and my good friends here, whose names are, You Know Who I Am, Don't Talk to Me, and Jeff.
You said, "You know who I am, don't talk to me," in Jet?
Sure, Jeff works.
Oh, it's kind of goes, "I'm Teddy, this is Ronald." He goes, "Excellent." She kind of takes you by the shoulder and leads you towards stuff and then leans in and goes, Sylvia is someone you've known for a while, been a guard around, you know well enough that she is actually recognizes you. She goes, "There was a group just brought you in."
Aha. Aha. They brought me in, a stranger. I see.
I swear it was you went by, you saw me, but you didn't it seems like you recognized me. You just went straight by me.
Oh, the strange things indeed. Well, I think I will have to make way to the privy whilst you start a game with these kind, very well armed men.
What do you want done with them?
Oh, do you? I don't know any card games. Do you like?
No, she asks. She's like, "What do you want done with them?"
Yeah, I don't know any card games. I think I've heard Stud worked around.
She goes, "So don't take them into custody."
Oh no, they're my good friends.
All right. They go to take them there into to sort of play a game, and from there, hopefully if David's able to return, let me check my email, see if he may have sent something that way. If he is able to return, we can kind of go back and do the thing with him, but then we'll be able to basically consider that end of Act 1, and then do the real life. At this point, we go out of... Yeah, David had to drop because the internet connection was too bad. Okay. So for Jane, what is Jane like? How does what is the sort of relationship between Ambrose and Jane?
I think Ambrose is a really arrogant, he got a book published in his field and got a lot of acclaim and has been writing that in typical sort of arrogant, just at the beginning of middle-aged man fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And so he barely acknowledges the adjuncts. including Jane, who has done significant research of her own that is quite good, but nobody cares about. So I imagine he's generally condescending towards her if he acknowledges her at all, and she resents the fact that he gets paid like 20 times as much as she does to do like a quarter of the teaching and work.
Okay. Do you have what field do you want to be in?
Let's make it theater.
Okay. Okay.
That's why she's
Nice thing about theater is that makes it very easy for their problems to become your problems in a way that I don't know if it's as big a deal with other ones. So in this case, if it's theater, then it might I don't know if a book would be a thing quite so much as maybe this is someone who is professional actor, director who's come in for like a residence.
Sure, or a play. Maybe they're
Oh,
like,
a playwright.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can definitely work. Okay. Yeah, and so basically, you do not get along with him from everything what it sounds like. Cause the
But
problem.
I think I can't really like openly not get along with him because he's like the favored child of the university, or at least of the theater department.
Okay.
And I'm just a lowly adjunct.
Yep. And is there a specialty that you have? Are you with actors, directing, tech?
I would say either acting or also writing if we want him to be a direct rival in that nature. But I'm thinking maybe acting, and I think his writing is crap, but have been forced to teach it to students.
Okay.
Does that sound like a good?
Oh yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, so you're in your office for office hours. You might be looking for lines for show or doing whatever. There's not a student in there at that moment, and there's a very loud on your door.
I sort of, without knowing who it is yet, just sort of really come in.
And door opens up. Ambrose.
Sorry.
That's fine. Ambrose comes in, takes a seat, and goes, "So your playwriting class. You've got Vicky in your class?"
Yes, she's in one of them.
Well, and then he kind of reaches out. He pulls out her most recent, the short play that she wrote, which was not great. Probably fairly derivative dialogue, but just she got like a C- on. Well, I had worked with her on this. We had done some extensive talks, mentor of such, and I believe you may have given her the wrong grade. We know it happens.
It's certainly possible. I'd be happy to look over the play again when I'm finished with my other work this evening. It's nice that you're going out of your way to work with the students.
I like to find some students that I'm able to mentor, and I mean, frankly, this is not an A paper, but it's certainly better than a C-, or there's not an A project, but it's certainly better than a C-, and something that I believe at some point could be publishable.
Anything is possible.
I know. Do you have any playwriting credits?
I do, actually.
Like, is this one? Has it been like national stuff, or is it local, or is it? Because it'll be less than Ambrose.
Yeah, I think it's less than Ambrose. I mean, I think it's gone to some regional theaters. Probably not just the local one, but it's never been picked up for some large national production.
Yeah, but done sort of here and there. And he just goes. I mean, I realize I don't want to be the one to say this, but I know that sometimes seeing someone who's got a style similar to your own, who might be eclipsing where you were at her age, is difficult. But I'm hoping you're not going to allow this particular blind spot, shall we say, to cause a problem.
Oh, do you find her work similar to mine? Since you like it so much, I must take that as a compliment then.
I see her potential. I see she has the potential that you used to have.
That I used to have?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, You are a straight shooter, aren't you?
Smiles.
Such an asset to the university.
Listen, sits it down there and goes, I get it. Lots of people want to be the next big thing. And it's not going to happen for everybody. And occasionally we start to dive into the same old tropes, the same things that we've been doing over and over and over again, and we end up here.
Yeah, some of us do teach 5 classes a semester over and over and over again.
Some
It's
of
true.
us do theater and don't just teach it.
And yet here you are in my office hours, attempting to instruct me on how to teach.
Okay. So at this point, to kind of see how well it goes, and partly I'll see if you're going to raise it or lower the thing for him. So we still got, we roll dice, D8, give it just a D6 for kind of a normal, because he's not going to push too hard on this. I got a 4 on that one, so not much.
And I'm just rolling 1d6, is that right?
So what you would have is you've got a D8 for the real life dice with him right now.
Okay.
And then whichever one makes
D6 for the...
It looks like probably rejecting, or how would...
Right, let me see what I have for... I didn't really know what those stats were when I assigned them, so...
It's basically how good your character is at those particular things.
I feel now that we've begun to play and I understand better that I should switch threaten and reject, because my character is actually quite threatening.
Yeah.
Which I did not expect. And actually, maybe even with Connect, like I anticipated playing her very differently, but then everyone's been really jerky to her, so...
Yes.
Is it okay if I just switch up my stats one time?
Oh, yeah, fine.
Okay. Let's put a D6 on Connect. Probably, and a D... No, I don't... What is... D6 is a D8 and a D4?
Yeah. Basically D8 and D4, and the other 2 are D6s.
Oh, bother. What does she do we think? I think reject... Well, threaten should probably be the D8. That seems to be her main modus operandi. D6 on reject. Maybe D4 on convince, since she doesn't seem very good at that. That seemed like a good set of stats for how I've been playing her?
I think so.
All right. So D6 then for rejecting Ambrose here. So 2 D6s overall. No, wait, right? Or D8 is the real life play when you get, and then you add the D6 because...
Yeah, so you use the real life, because as of right now, it hasn't been like downgraded too much. So you'll be rolling 2 D8.
2 D8s. Okay.
Yeah, so the D8 for the real life die for that character, essentially the more that you use it, the harder it becomes to keep it in real life.
No, wait, that's not roll. Here we go. So I got a 6 and a 2.
Okay. Which beats the hell out of my 4. So you can basically take the level 2, you can move that down to the 1.
Hooray.
So it's repaired that a little bit.
Where's white on this thing? There we go.
And the last thing, remember the last thing you'd said to him?
Was it... And yet here you are in my office hours?
Yeah, he just takes a moment and he goes...
Trying to teach me how to teach?
You see him about to like say something, but there's part of him sort of thinks a little bit better of it. He goes, I'm just saying you may want to take another look when you have a chance.
Absolutely. As soon as I'm done with my work for the day, I will give it another read through and keep your comments in mind.
There's a moment where he sort of stands up and he gives you like a bit of a weird look. I just don't think this should reflect poorly on her. When I take someone under my wing, I get a little zealous.
I understand. It's very easy to get attached to our students, yes?
And at that point, he just sort of freezes up a little bit at that point and goes, "Yes, I believe we understand each other." And then,
Sounds like you have a very special relationship. I will give the paper another look.
and at which point he just turns and takes off. And for Tom, your older brother, who's also your landlord, if you want to tell me a little bit about that relationship.
Oh, it is cordial but a little tense. I mean, oh, now I'm getting feedback. Um, is it coming from me? It's not coming from me. Okay. It's cordial but a little bit tense. He is sort of the preferred child. He makes a good amount of money. He's happily married. The kind of picturesque nuclear family with his wife and 2 kids. Yeah, and that's what I got. And I'm sort of a deadbeat, might be a little bit strong, but I'm finding my feet. Tom is finding his feet.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, so Tim comes into the brewery on a lunch break. I guess, is landlord his main job, or he just something that he does? He happens to own the place you live?
He happens to own a property or 2 in town.
So he's probably got enough money he can own property. He's doing pretty well.
Yeah.
He's on a lunch break and kind of stops in at the brewery. Tom, is Tom keep up on his bills, or he's sometimes a little bit late?
Sometimes a little bit late.
Tom, it's the 6th.
Yeah. Hey, Tim. 6th. Shit. Is it Dad's birthday? Is it? What is that?
No, it's the 6th. Rent is supposed to be paid by the 3rd.
The 3rd. Right. Let me see here. So I'm going to be a little bit shy this month. I had a chat with, okay, so here's where the money is, right? I had a chat with the artistic director down at the local theater, the community theater downtown. And he was like, "Hey man, you think you could spot us a little bit of cash for paint? We got to paint the set for this next play." I'm doing work down there. I volunteer every so often. And I was like, yeah, well, paint is not cheap, dude. So,
Tom, how much do you make here that you're buying paint for a theater?
I mean, obviously, like, not enough, but let's kind of keep that on the quiet. This is my job.
I know it's your job, but Tom, you can't go paying for stuff when you can't, paying for paint for a show that they should be taking care of when you... Oh, I know you love it, man. I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, man, I'm really sorry. I'm gonna be a little shy this month. Let me see here. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't have any figures, but if we can sort of roll that into next month, I'll talk with Jeremy, see if my boss, he can see if he can help me out a little bit. And as you know, like I can bring a pony keg over to your house anytime. Probably won't go over well with the wife or the kids, but I can bring a 6er over to your house anytime you want.
Tom, when are you going to stop being... How old is Tom?
I'm starting to make him very much like me.
37.
37, perfect. I love it. Yeah, let's say mid into late 30s, where it's sort of getting past that time that he should maybe have more of a stable career.
He just goes, Tom, look, when you were in your mid-20s, was fine. Charming, maybe. Because sometimes people screw up their lives at that point. But you've been at a brewery for how long?
I think I've been assistant brewer about 5 years now, man. And like I could move up to head brewer, like as soon as if we start making the right amount of money, and Jeremy can move up to kind of face man in the pub, I could get in a pretty good substantial pay increase. And of course, you know, like other places really treasure on the job experience. So it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been too long. It's like, don't go to your boss for help. Make sure that you pay me what you have to next month. If there's a problem, you need to talk to me before the 8th or the 6th. You know what would happen if you weren't my brother?
Yeah, probably a eviction, man. Like, yeah, I know. I really appreciate you helping your actual brother out and helping your blood family maintain a roof over their heads. That's really, really, really cool of you.
How much is a pony keg?
Pony keg of and if it's the really fancy, like if it's the super fancy stuff, then it's a little more. But pony keg of most of our stock is $70.
Okay, you bring a pony keg by. I'll knock 70 off of your rent. So I know you get a discount of some sort.
All right, that's real big of you. Do you want anything? You feel like anything right now? I think the tap room's open.
No, none. I'm good.
All right.
So at this point, to see if the relationship degrades or improves, I have a feeling this is a fairly common problem for you.
Yep.
Yep. So I think what I'm doing is make that a hard thing because he's been having to go for a while. I have a total of a 6.
Okay. And
so yours, you'll have a D10 for his real life die because you only have him at a 1.
Right on. And then let's see here. What was the thing I was doing? I guess I don't know. Let's see here. Is that convincing maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. D10 and D6. D6 and D10 and roll all dice. Ooh, 6. Ooh, that's not good. What did you get?
Oh crap. I think I also had a 6.
Ooh.
Pearl, do you have to remember because I had a 1 on there and this doesn't keep the 1s.
I do not.
Yeah.
I have not been eyeing the rolling sheet when
Yeah.
not using it.
That's fine.
efficiently. I apologize.
Yeah, I think I had a 6 as well
Okay.
on that one. Yeah, so I'll say again, in this place, go ahead and raise it up to 2 to stake there because it's going to be a little harder to deal with that coming in the future. Okay, so at which point, let me check something. So normally at this point, and we go back to Act 2 of the play. I know that since we're missing Dan, I'm also trying to remember who's here next week that's here.
I'm not sure if I'm in next week. I'm on the waiting list for next week.
I think I told you. I think you when we talked to you on the thing where I'll put you in on that because this is one where it helps to have some overlap. Because Vasilis was supposed to be here today, but his flight got in late, so he wasn't able to kind of get in until a bit later. And it looks like David, if he can. It's a different David. A different David will be joining us, I think, just for the next one.
Which David is that?
David Zerbst.
I don't think I know him.
Yeah, he'd sign up for the second one, but like right now, I would have you two and Vasilis for the next 2. So normally it would go from 1:30 to 4:30, which is about half an hour. Do we want to call it here for today, so we'd be able to start in with Act 2 and bring in the other characters next time? And if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind like so far thoughts on how it's gone so far, things that work, things that don't, particularly as for like system stuff or etc.
I feel like I am finally sort of getting the hang. Like it took me a bit to sort of figure out the mechanics and whatnot, but I think it seems like a really cool game. I'm a bit concerned about how it's going to work with the play with people coming in and out as much as they are. So I think maybe if you are going to be available to be in all of them, Dan, are you for both of the other ones?
I definitely am next week. I just looked at my rudimentary paper calendar earlier today and found out that I think I signed up for something called Velvet Glove on the 20th.
Oh, I wanted to be in that and I didn't get in.
But it looks like it's not on the calendar anymore. Now it's just on the 19th, which is, I'm not sure if that...
Calendar's weird right now.
Oh, is it?
I made a post about this in one of the forums and like everyone was like, I think it's just you. And I was like, it's not just me.
Okay.
I definitely found it. There were some things I would try to look at, like the actual month thing was having a lot of problems on Firefox, but showed up better on Chrome.
Okay. I've been
Always
using...
Chrome.
Okay, so
and
yeah.
I'm still having trouble.
Huh.
So,
So I put a note in with the person who's running that in case they like only got enough people for one session. But it looks like I may have committed to Slings and Arrows when I already have a date on the 22nd. So I apologize for that.
That's why when I put the description, I figured like at least if someone can make it to 2, it's easier to have a character come out of it as opposed to try to bring them in for like a single session.
I'm just trying to think. So I was gonna say if 2 of us are in all the sessions, maybe we could try to focus our relationship so that carries through. But if there aren't any people who other than me who are in all the sessions, then I don't actually have any ideas other than that my princess can go around threatening to behead everyone all the time, become like the Red Queen. But it's really not mine. I thought she was gonna be this like hapless, like, where's my prince? I don't understand any of this. And then that awful woman showed up at my chamber and
Yeah, I pushed a little harder on that one because we'd had the 2 opening scenes had very little like trying to get them to push towards conflict, which was fine. But I'm like, okay, let's get one of these sorts of conflict scenes. So I started off that one a little more direct. And then you're definitely like, yeah, no, you don't get to just choose stuff. I'm like, ooh. But then when you roll the 2, I'm like, okay, she's a spy master because she clearly is got that much more above that she'll just do the stuff.
in that scene she does.
Yeah, but you'll come back and behead her.
I'm 100% gonna find a way to behead her. I will keep upping the stakes as much as I need to until I can behead that woman. How dare she? I'm in the mood for a beheading, and in real life, you're not allowed to do that. So that's what games are for. But yeah, I think I'm gonna just trust you as the GM to figure out how to put all of our in and out characters, and whether different people play the 2 twins as people come in and out of the game, or just I have no idea how it works. But I like the game a lot. I think it's fun. I hope that I can actually speak like I'm in a Shakespeare play moving forward. I do at least sort of know how to fake that, and have not been doing it.
And it didn't help that I didn't start off though, because we used to do every once in a while we do a full hour-long improvised Shakespeare play. Those were always the dirtiest plays we ever did, because if you're speaking in those metaphors, you can really go places. But yeah, I started off more sort of modern Princess Bride-ish, and so I that was one of those things when you mentioned, I'm like, crap, I probably should have thought about that earlier.
Oh, I'm usually good about that kind of thing, and I'm just my brain this morning, not so much.
I did make some notes about like doing some breakdowns for the
Oh, geez.
trickier kind of plays, because Comedy of Errors, by its nature, fills in stuff a bit differently. You've got like a family drama, where then you have to kind of fill in more, because the genre of this one helps set a whole bunch of more stuff, but it means you're approaching it differently than you would a couple of those other genres. So cool. Anyway, like system-wise or stuff, that the general pace of it and stuff seemed okay, or problems, or things not click?
I have a little bit of a. I think I'm getting it, but maybe some language in the text explaining a little more thoroughly. I'm having a bit of a time wrapping my head around staking relationships with real-world people and having that somehow affect how you work in the play. Or does that jive?
Oh yeah, actually, because those actually don't stake in the play. That's one thing I make clear. What it does is it kind of tells me that. So, with your brother, you'd had the scene where.
I was talking with the guard. I was trying to fool Sylvia.
Yeah, with the guard and those people where they were kind of bringing you in. Since they were bringing you in and going, we can use this person to gain money because he's successful. I'm like, what if we switch that so now your brother comes in, you're working at this place, he's your landlord. If you owe him money, someone who, instead of like trying to use you for being successful, is switching it and going, you need to get your shit together. So thematically, I took that part of your conflict and then flipped that for the real world. Right now, because the play stuff can be much more player driven. Because in some of the ones I've done, the players will kind of be at odd, like their characters will actually drive each other. Where I can become someone who just pops in, and those scenes will largely go without me having to do much, which is cool. But it's cool. It's fine if it doesn't. But the real world was more for, okay, here's what you've built. Now let's take these things, flip it for the real world, and now they invade your life in a transformed way. So you're not just having the same conflict in each.
Okay.
Yeah, so making that clear has been that there's been some of that stuff of how that works. Because I was more looking at making sure that they weren't looking for how the character fit in the play. But cool. I will be looking at that when I go through and do some writing.
I think whoa, that's me. Breakdown of genres. I'm sure would be helpful for everybody. Like, I mean, who couldn't use a refresher on what some of these things mean?
Cool.
Well, and also just being on the same page. Like, I feel like I have my idea of what a comedy of errors would end up looking like, but it might not be exactly the same as what somebody else's would be. So if we all make sure we agree on the terms.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of more PC interactions, but I also, again, with the in and out of people, I don't know how much those relationships are going to be able to build. But I've been looking forward to having scenes with, well, Dan and David, ostensibly.
Which I'd have been pushing that in Act 2, because we would have gotten David into the castle, and then Dan we probably could have snuck in. I was
quite looking forward to that, but what can you do?
Yeah, the setup of this particular one made it like you don't usually meet it first because there has to be the confusion. So cool. Yeah. So the next time that'll be pushing the players together. All right. If there's nothing else, then I can call it for today. Thank you very much. And
thank you very much, both of you.
Yeah,
confused as I was, I had a lovely time.
Excellent. And the nice thing is, since all the groundwork has been laid, we'll just be able to fill in the new people, slot them in, maybe have someone take the prince or take the pauper, and then go back. So we've had an actor had to drop. We brought a new one in. Now they'll be able to pick up from there, add those characters, and then go. Cool.
Rock and roll. Well, see you next week.
Yep. Have a great time.
Have a lovely week, everyone.
You too.